Thank you all so much for coming. And you're welcome for opening the bar way too early. Thank you to Megan Paddock and Sue Cook for pressuring me into the bar opening. Well done. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello to everyone who's joining us online. I think most people know me, but I'm Kyle Viator. I'm the Dean of CETA. It's my honor to welcome you here today. I know that this is a very busy time of the year, especially considering we have 2 weeks to Thanksgiving, which frightens me. So there are a lot of things that you could be doing, a lot of things that can help your immediate students that you could be doing, but I appreciate you taking the time to come here today and listen to some of the work that we've been putting together to share with the rest of you. I'd like to start off by thanking my two colleagues, Dean Diego Nocetti and Dean Ben Cole, for working on this project over the last couple of months. It is difficult to start a new job, as we all know. It's even more difficult to start a new job and then be thrown this large STEM initiative that it had a lot of question marks on it when they first came on board. So thank you to the two of them, and you'll hear from both of them. They've been excellent partners. Give them a hand. We sent out the pre-read a few days ago, and one thing that people mentioned to me is, this is high level. This seems very broad. That's intentional. This project is meant to help us form an identity around STEM for campus, but not the identity for campus. This is an area that we all touch at some point in our careers here at SNHU, and every school and every department has a role in STEM, whether you realize it or not. This is our effort to bring the campus community together, so that way when students who are interested in STEM in the New England area think of a STEM university and what STEM options are out there, that SNHU is on the list, not just maybe on the list. We will be on the list. We also have the opportunity to take advantage of leadership's offer to invest heavily into our STEM programs. So we've set up these structures by which ideas can funnel through and get invested in. So you'll hear all about that today. This is not a short-term initiative. We want to make sure you know that this idea we call STEMX does not end in April or May. This is a multi-year project that we're putting forth that's going to be part of campus's long-term strategy and the university as a whole. Now let's talk about the X. I am not some Elon Musk wannabe, nor are my colleagues in leadership. The X is intentional. It's not meant to be flashy. It's meant to showcase that we are more than just STEM and we are interdisciplinary. So it's more of a cross than it is an X, because we're going to work across schools and across units. So please don't align me with any billionaires out there. Walking you through the agenda really quick, Diego's going to come up in just a second and review kind of why we've been thinking about this, why leadership has charged us with this, and some of the goals that we've outlined. Then we thought it was important that you hear from leadership and hear the support and how this fits into part of a larger charter for the campus. We'll then have Dean Ben Cole come up and talk about our request for proposal process and what the next couple of months will look like. We'll then open it up to a few questions, but then we really want this to be a time where we can go around, answer any questions, get you all starting to talk about what ideas you've been thinking about, and just to start the collaborative process. So I welcome you to this event. Thank you for coming. If you're online and have a question, you're welcome to put it into the chat and I will try my best to respond to it. But without further ado, Diego, would you mind coming up?
Thanks, Kyle. Diego Nocetti, Dean in the School of Business. So first of all, I want to thank Kyle, Ben, Kara, everyone here for giving us this challenge. And this to me is exciting. I love thinking about strategy. I love thinking about where how can we thrive in this challenging market? And so to me, this is very exciting. And I think we can do this. I also love presentations, as the faculty and staff from the School of Business know. So I have lots of slides here. The question is, why now? Why STEMX, this cross-disciplinary initiative? Why do we need this? And I just finished the school-wide meeting, and we were talking a little bit about this. And as we were talking about some of the possible initiatives, the question was, what if we don't do this? I would rather focus on the opportunities. And I think if this as one of the initiatives that we have, we can actually go forward with this, and we can create a strategy that differentiates us from other universities, and in some ways from the global campus, using the synergies from UC and the global campus, we are going to thrive. So first I want to, but going back to the challenges that we are facing, the challenges ahead, you are all aware of what we are calling the demographic cliff. 16 years ago, there was a large drop in the birth rate. That means that in 2025, there will be a large drop in enrollments in higher education. We know that will happen. Right? It happened. The estimates out there are that some people are talking about, depending on where in the country, we are talking about 5% to all the way up to 15%. So there is an immediate need of a strategy to differentiate us from the rest of the universities out there. The second part, we have been talking, so today we had Rob McCausland talking in the all school meeting about some of the initiatives there. And I was so excited to hear about all of those, because I think AI, I'm calling AI a revolution. I really think that it is. It is coming, it is here, and we need to adapt to it. And if we don't, again, going back to thinking about what other universities are doing, we will be behind. And if we think about all we are is student success, if we don't embrace AI, I truly think that we will do a disservice to the students. So again, that is coming, that is happening, and I think it is important to embrace it, but it is a challenge. It is not easy to embrace it. And then we know that University College has operational deficits. We need to find a way to grow enrollments in this challenging environment. We need to find a way not just to survive, but to thrive in this market. I don't think that business as usual is an option. Business as usual is trying to say, well, maybe if we keep doing what we have been doing, it will be okay. My personal opinion is that it's not the way to go. I would prefer to go all the way to say, what is the strategy that we need to thrive in this market, so that 5-10 years from now, we are saying, okay, the UC is doing not just okay, but amazingly well. So those are some of the challenges. At the same time, that is true for all the programs and any sort of strategy going forward. I think that in particular STEM is an area that makes sense to focus on. Why? Because there will be a lot of demand for people with STEM related competencies, skills. We know that that is the case. So the estimates out there are that the demand from employers for those skills will be significantly higher and will grow faster than any other sort of area. So STEM is an area where there will be a lot of demand for our students if we make things well. But what I just mentioned is not simple. One of the challenges that universities currently face, and they will keep facing, we will keep facing, is that even though enrollments of women and other underrepresented groups has grown in the area of STEM, it has not been enough to close the gap, the very large gap between men and minoritized groups. So the question is, what do we do about that? Is it even possible to address that gap? And many people say, no, it's not possible. I don't think that is the case. I think that an interdisciplinary focus of STEM has the capacity to actually help in that way, not just to bring more students in the STEM areas, but to bring minoritized students that might be more attracted to areas that are not so focused on STEM, but that have the STEM focus, but at the same time, the liberal arts or the business focus or other areas. Now, what I just mentioned, I usually prefer to talk about, right, when I think about quotes, I like to talk about people that are a lot smarter than I am. I mentioned this before when it is about negotiating in terms of the job, my wife would be the one that I would ask. When it comes to STEM education, I would look at NSF. And so NSF is saying, okay, so what does it mean? What should be the approach in order to actually capture those minoritized groups? What is the right approach to STEM? I'll take that because I cannot read from here. So they say, in this learner-centered environment, all learning pathways will be aligned to learners' interests and include proven experiential activities in both physical and digital ways. For example, virtual labs and online classes. Connections to relevant real-life problems, including those in students' communities, will be what drives STEM learning. Teachers will focus on providing knowledge and experiences such as problem solving, ethics, and decision making that will be needed in future work contexts and jobs. When I read that, to me, that reads STEM X. That's at least what I think about STEM X. So again, going back to the question of why now? One, to enhance UC and SNHU's reputation in STEM and cross-disciplinary fields. To, rather than wait and see what happens, to be proactive about the challenges and to respond to those challenges with a strategy, with a clear strategy, to develop a more inclusive approach to STEM, and of course, to exploit the synergies across departments, schools, and with the global campus that many times we are not doing. So when we think about why STEM X, these are some of the reasons. With that, I would like to introduce Provost Lisa Ryerson.
Thanks, Diego. How great it is to be with everyone. And I'm not going to digress too much, but it's truly great to be here. What a week it's been. How's your Wednesday? Everybody doing all right? We had our New England Commission of Higher Education here, as you know, from Sunday, and they just left mid-morning today. So first, a huge thank you to all the staff and faculty here who took time to meet with them. Don and Kara were with me when they gave, as they always do. This was our interim visit, so it was less extensive than what you've all been through in previous comprehensive visits. It was my return to accreditation. You might remember before I returned to SNHU, I had was working as an educator, but outside of higher education for about 9 years. Previously had chaired a lot of visits for Middle States Commission. I was sharing afterwards with Don and Kara, I gave many positive reports as a chair of an accrediting team, but I've never heard one or given one as positive as we received. So just a huge thank you, not just to those who met with the team, but to each and every one of you for the work that we do together across one university. To Kyle and Diego's introductions, our team, they read everything thoroughly. They poked and prodded, certainly with me, in their questioning. But from their positions where they sit, whether it was our chair, who is the chancellor who leads the Pennsylvania system of higher education, or team members from Northeastern, or Maryland Online, or Roger Williams, as positive as they were with us, in side moments or quieter times or personal time, what they shared was exactly this introduction and something that we know, which is the difficulty that higher education is in overall in this nation, and it's significant. But for me, it was the first time in a while that I was hearing this from a group of really skilled leaders who are worried about their own places, small and large, but incredibly grateful for you, for us, for the work of Southern New Hampshire University to go forward in bold ways, often, always with evidence and data, but often taking big risks and swings because we know how important it is for our learners, but certainly it's important for our nation and for our globe to be sure that more people have access to affordable, high-quality education because their lives depend upon it, their communities depend upon it, our society does. But it was just so gratifying to hear this from the outside in. I was struck by the fact that I'm not sure that we take enough moments to celebrate the achievements that we accomplished together, because like all teachers and learners and academic organizations and healthy organizations, frankly, we do the heavy and important work of poking at each other and asking critical questions and understanding when we don't get it right, too. So I share what happened this morning as a way to celebrate our work, and also because it connects so much with what we're doing here today on STEM X, coming together again and saying, how do we ensure that our one university is healthy and whole and forward-looking, because our future depends upon it, not just ours at SNHU, but the learners who we serve. So I think this is the best day to be talking about STEM X. Even better after that visit to come in and find out that wine was available for us. I think it's just so civilized to be able to be here together and to open up and to have community time together as well. So I'm really excited about this initiative. Don and Kara and many of you as academic and staff leaders have talked with me about the journey that you've taken together to continue to do what we do well, but also pursue new academic pathways that will be most helpful for the university, but also most helpful for our learners. I love the way Kyle, you and Diego, can't wait to hear from Don and Ben and Kara as well later today, are thinking about the important intersection of the identities or intersection of identities of our learners, and that the workforce is moving into anyone, no matter what our field is or our career, having to have competencies that are rooted in some factor of what we would consider to be a STEM education. It's also really exciting because I like the X on the end, but I would posit that STEM in and of itself as a field is inherently interdisciplinary. So we're leveraging just the field of STEM as well as looking across the whole university. So as you can tell, I'm excited about this work. I want to underscore what Kyle said. I don't see it as the only identity for University College, for campus, but I see it as an important identity and rally cry for us to work across faculty, learners. We want to engage learners in these proposals, I would say, as well, and staff members to be thinking about where we might own various lanes and be known for the place to come for whatever programs we're investing in. The other reason why I wanted to be here, and I had a really exciting meeting with Diego and Kyle and Ben and Kara last week, is I wanted to be here to say to you, because I've talked with so many of you, this isn't like just a new thing and a call for proposals that we will invest in and think about for a few months and then have it go away. We're really serious about the value and importance of this work and adjacent work and opportunities in building academic experiences that will follow on. And you have my commitment that the investment and the leadership across the provost area will be solid in this work. Further, you have my commitment that I know that some of what we will come up with may not work, and we will expend some human time and resources in trying it, and it's okay if some of it doesn't work. If we work together, we're bound to come up with solutions, in fact, that will stick, and we will ensure that campus thrives, and more than thrives, that we flourish. When I was listening to the NECHI team, on my mind was the importance of one university, because demographic cliff is here, but we have more opportunity because we are one university. You all, way before my time, were wise at SNHU to diversify learning experiences, audiences of learners, and revenue opportunities. So now it's our call, with the opportunity for STEMX, to maximize all of that. So beyond that, before I pass it on, I will say, it's been great to be with so many of you. I had occasion recently to have a great dinner with Dave and Jay and Greg. I also, Harry, I want to call you out. At homecoming weekend, I had the most wonderful opportunity to be at an art opening for a beautiful, beautiful piece of artwork down in Arms Park. And Mike Hendry invited me to a class. Why am I sharing that? I had a blast. If you don't mind having the provost in your class, please invite me. He put me right to work, and it was great. So with that, know that I'm going to be curious to hear about the proposals. I won't be deciding on them, but I'm going to walk alongside you in this work. And I'm really excited about our future together. Don?
Okay. So for the next 3 or so minutes, Kyle's given me 2 charges, basically. No, you didn't. I by design. I only want to be out of here in 3 minutes. First, what this is not about, and then second, to contextualize it a bit. Okay. So it's really important what it's not about. This is not a singular, siloed, one and done strategy. The next new strategy, we'll see how it goes. It goes, it doesn't go. This is part of something that is much longer term, and it is part of it. It is one of the things that we will need to be doing over the next few years. So now to contextualize it, and hopefully in doing so, we'll make that more solidly apparent. Circle back. It's only been about, a little more than about 2 years since we reemerged from the disruption of COVID. Shipping everybody off campus, living through that crazy time and all that went along with it. It's only been a couple of years. As we came back, with all of the excitement of seeing colleagues again, being able to actually be in each other's presence and seeing our students and doing what we love to do, working off of those relationships, we also were confronted with a number of challenges, quite a number of challenges. And as one would look at all of the challenges, it wasn't hard to put them into 3 buckets. There was a financial exigency. Our students were struggling. Persistency, success, graduation rates. And there was a morale problem on campus. So we shorthanded it in our goals. As you know, you've heard me say it more than times than you want to hear. Our 2027 goal, get it down to 15 million from 42 million, 65% graduation rate. And one could argue on how do you quantify something as qualitative as morale? We borrowed from Maslow. We need to get it up to 3. As we went through that, we broke it into phases. First phase was a diagnostic one. What the heck got us to this point? You can't address a problem. You can know you got a problem. You got to understand it. So we did that hard work. And then we went to the really difficult part of prioritizing around efficiencies. And we got some things right and we got some things wrong. And it was hard and it wasn't without its controversy, but we were resilient as a community and we got through it and we succeeded. So we come out of it, and now against that, instead of 42 million, we're at 16. Instead of a 57% graduation rate, we're now at 60. And I'll let you guys decide on the Maslow over drinks when I'm not around. But that is important because it opens us up to the third phase, which is really what we're talking about, and that is growth. So we cannot get to, is my slide next? Awesome. We cannot get to where we need to be now without growing. We've done all the other hard stuff. We need to keep our discipline. And if you reflect on things a bit, and you've seen this before, but where we are in market, the story we tell, we're in that bottom, arguably that bottom right quadrant. To win, it's to move to the top right. And to me, the coolest part about that is you can't name many privates that are there. It is one of those few opportunities in a modern market where it open ground. We do not change who we are, but we change our story, we focus, and we reflect and we move towards that deliberately over time. Iteratively over time, marshal our resources over time, try things over time. Okay. So as we do that, there's a couple of things to think about. First of all, one just doesn't declare we're going to go to full enrollment, have more students, and we're just going to do it. It's not about throwing stuff at stuff. It's about a strategy. It's about creating a story for ourselves within who we are, true to ourselves, that our colleagues in marketing, which they are committed to helping us with, and enrollment can embrace and run with and build and make this happen. It is a full comprehensive effort. If you think about the components of this, think of a triangle and what are those points at the corners? Vertexes? Where are my math people? Those points on a triangle, without any particular order of hierarchy to debate, you've got prospective students, you've got their parents or who's ever paying for it, and you've got employers. What can we do to speak to all 3 of those things in a way that is distinctive and consistent with who we are mission-wise, DNA-wise? Okay? So as we think about that, in a lot of ways, we're already there. We've already started a lot of this work. We already have started moving towards programs. And now we're starting to even become more organic with it and ask you, our colleagues and faculty, to really start thinking programmatically, what are the things we can start doing that takes who we are already and realigns it, marshals it in such a way that we can tell a really cool interdisciplinary story. And that part is, we are a comprehensive university. The other thing that we're not is this is not a zero-sum game, where some programs win and some, we're comprehensive. That's why interdisciplinary is so important. That is why it is a strength. So in doing so, how do we leverage the assets that we have to really start thinking, what is a really distinct position for certain programs that trail into career paths for our students that are flexible, that they can curate, and they can leave here successful in market? Okay. So as we go ahead and do that, it makes me actually reflect on the NEXT meeting that we had this morning. It was actually the NEXT one that I was in a couple of days ago, where they asked senior leadership, each of us, to say, what keeps you up at night? And nobody wanted to be first, so I went first, because to me it was a softball. What keeps me up at night is what Diego had already talked about. We have to grow in a demographic cliff. And a lot of people say you're crazy, and I don't think we are. And of course we have, our financial tightness, but we now have a commitment to invest in the right spaces where we can take a look at what we have, where we're going to go, what capital investments, et cetera, we need to make that happen. So it's a very nice return on investment. That is what I told them. And I said it not as a challenge that keeps me up at night, kind of is, but really more as an opportunity that gets me up early in the morning, thinking about and charged up about, because I don't doubt that we can do this. We have to anyways, but I don't doubt that we can. We have the assets, we have the talent, we have the resources to do it. Now we just have to come together and figure out where we want to put our bets programmatically. And let's not forget, there's also things on the student experience and student life side of it that also will need to play a very, very important part in this. It is a community effort. I'm excited about it. STEMX is one part of it. There will be others that emerge over time, but I have no doubt we're going to win this game. And I hope you feel that way too. Thank you. Tara?
Thank you. All right, so my message is quick. It's mostly, actually, it's all a message of gratitude, right? I am so thankful that you are all here. I'm so thankful that you're curious, that you're showing up again. I was with you walking that awful slog through the summer of 2020, and it amazes me every day, no joke, what an amazing, strong, resilient, creative, positive group of community people we have on this campus. We have kept coming every day, no matter what, and we just keep going. The second thing that I'm grateful about is the fact that we are here with not just faculty, but we have staff. We have people that have real hearts for this work and lots of things that they can offer. And I'm so thankful that they're all being welcomed into the work together. Another thing that I'm grateful for, and this is a me thing, is I love the X. I don't even have Twitter, but I love the X because my background is in liberal arts. And the more we talk about AI, the more we talk about STEM, the more absolutely convinced I am that the liberal arts are more important than they ever have been before. We need to create and support well-rounded, critical thinking, deep knowledge human beings. And I'm so excited to see that this STEM piece grabbed the X. I was at a listening to a presentation at the CETA school meeting today, and one of the presenters said that she would bet that most people that walk into CETA have a sense of imposter syndrome. And I was sitting there thinking, oh my God, they know, right? Because I'm liberal arts all the way. Whenever I walk into CETA, I feel like, uh-oh, someone's going to figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing in here. And so it was so exciting and so heartening to have the liberal arts validated and welcomed into this work by all of our colleagues. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the team. I also want to throw some real kudos to our new dean team. When they first came on, one of the things I said to them was, listen, if I have one goal for you, it's that as we do the work and you're thinking about your schools and what goes on in your schools, that you also think about how everything that you do in your schools leads up to what are we doing on campus? What are we doing with faculty? What are we doing with staff? And they just grabbed onto that right away and have been committed to it 100%. When they said to me, hey, do you think it would be okay if we took over this STEM thing? In my mind, I was going, hell yeah. But I said, oh, yes, absolutely. And they have just done a phenomenal job. So I'm so grateful for them. And I'm really excited. One other thing that I want to say too is I want to make it really clear that we are not talking about reinventing the wheel here. All of the materials, all of the ideas, all of the programs, all of the minds and the things that we are doing, we're already doing it. We just want to take a look at it again in a more intentional way. And I also think there's some great ideas that came out of the reimagination work in the summer of 2020, even though we were all stressed to the max. And this is the time to go back and look and say, hey, we had these great ideas at that time. Let's review them. Let's see where they fit into this process. So thank you all for being willing to have your minds open, to come back again and hear another idea, and to involve yourselves. I have an open door, so anytime you have questions, you want to chat, you want to run ideas by me, you want to celebrate some things or help me or want me to help you problem solve, don't ever hesitate to reach out and connect with me. My greatest joy is working with you as individuals. So thank you. Ben?
Thanks, everyone. I get the fun part. So I'm here to talk to you about the ask, the culmination in some ways of this event tonight, which is asking you to start talking with each other about what this could be. So when we took this over from Kara, or Kara gifted us with it, depending on your point of view, we had lots of ideas about what this could be. In fact, Diego and I met for a beer before we even started this work and pitched interdisciplinary ideas in the STEM space to each other that we were coming in with. But it was important to all of us that what this become needs to be organic, it needs to be bottom up, it needs to come from the faculty and staff that know our strengths best, know how to leverage them so that we can continue doing the good work that we're doing, but pitch it in new ways, add things to it, find the right targets for investment that are going to be the most fruitful as we start trying to shift our brand. I mean, it is really hard to have what we think, of course, are really good ideas for 4 months while we're working on it and to keep our mouths shut so that we don't, in some ways, poison the well. We don't prescribe to you what it could be or inadvertently put limits on your thinking about what it might be. This creates a tension, though, right? Because if we say it can be anything, are we talking about a space station? I used that as an example, and one of my engineering colleagues said, well, you know, we do satellites. It's like, shh. We need to have parameters of some kind. Turns out actually satellites could be among them, which I didn't realize. But there's a tension there. In order to prepare an idea that's workable, faculty, staff, we do need some parameters to work inside. So we've prepared a list on the RFPs at the tables in front of you of what we could envision these things being. They could be curricular, they could be co-curricular, new types of credentials, different ways of teaching. I'm a huge fan of team teaching and undergraduate research. Could imagine projects there. Different types of career development experiences and professional development work, grant writing, scholarship. We envision this as being something that could affect any of the areas that our different roles and units cover. In terms of timing, we recognize that the processes on campus and at SNU in general require us to think out ahead. Governance is a long process. If we started this proposal process today, pitching the idea that we want to invest in, it's still going to take us quite a while to actually make that realistic. So I went back to advice that I got from one of my fire officers that he brought back from the Marines, which is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If you want things to happen smoothly and well, the trick to that is to be deliberate about it, to be thoughtful, and to go kind of slow. So we're asking you today not to give us a full proposal that you want, $2 million to invest in, but rather to get together in teams, start thinking about ideas, and prepare a letter of intent is the best analog we have to the grant writing process. You're telling us what your idea is, who is on your team, and we're asking for each team to have at least 2 lead authors or PIs in grant language from at least 2 different units. Those might be different academic units, different units across our professional staff, a combination of those things. And the more the better. We're hoping for teams of 4 or 5 working on these things together. Not everyone is going to have a super active role. It might be that we're borrowing a course from the math department and we need them to be part of the conversation, but they might not necessarily be writing the full proposal, leading the discussion. We ask you for an executive summary of the entire project, a description of what it is that you want to work on that hopefully is fairly brief. And we're asking you to answer in the course of that description three key questions to us. First, and most importantly, as it should govern everything that we do here, how does it improve the student learning? How does it improve the student experience? In what ways is this best for our learners? Two, how will your project or idea utilize existing strengths from the disciplines and units that we have? And three, how will this idea, do you think, enhance our enrollments, improve our retention, or otherwise help to move our brand in the direction that Dawn has been talking about? And we recognize, by the way, that you may not be marketing experts yourselves. I am not at all, but we have lots of colleagues who are. And part of the reason that we asked Lisa to join us today was to signal the support of our marketing team, our admissions team, and helping us get some answers to those questions to make these letters of intent the most effective they can be. Also asking you to prepare a timeline for your proposal development. Some folks may want to work in the summer and use the grant as a summer stipend. Others may want to delay it to the fall and build it into their faculty plans, which we recognize would need to be amended, and that's okay. We can do that. And finally, if you need any extra resources to make your full proposal, so course releases, additional stipends that we're not including inside the typical $5,000 grant amount, we need to know about those too. So smaller projects, $5,000 stipend for the summer to fund a couple people to collaboratively produce something, that's probably enough. If you're proposing a space station, CETA, we recognize that's going to be a bigger project, more involved, more people, and need more resources, and that's okay. We'll consider that. So we're asking for these letters of intent to be submitted to an email address on the sheet. It's stem-x@snu.edu by March 1st. They'll be reviewed by a cross-disciplinary team of faculty, and we're looking for volunteers. We'll have one faculty member from each school, so talk to your dean if you're interested, and staff will be part of that decision-making process as well. We'll announce the first round of decisions in April. But I want to emphasize what Lisa and Dawn pointed out. This is not some shiny thing that we're chasing after one time and we're going to forget where we're headed and head somewhere new. We envision this being a long-term process. This might be the first of several of these rounds of grant opportunities as we think about strengthening and then improving what we've built. And I would also invite you to consider, as we think about what these grants actually are, so we're talking about $5,000 typical awards, but also a community of scholars next year who will convene probably monthly to talk about the work to advance the interests of interdisciplinary STEM on campus, and to do the type of networking that I hear from my faculty all the time they wish they had more opportunities to do. That the art history, the architecture faculty would love to see the engineers a bit more often. This community offers the chance to do that, and it will be open to the entire community as well. Thanks for listening to me. I'm going to pass it off to Kyle to wrap things up.
Ben, I see you stole my plans for the Death Star. Thank you again for coming. I want to emphasize a few things. First is that who is making these decisions? We have put together a small review committee, and the deans in each school will be talking with their faculty to get faculty representation and staff representation on that review committee. So that'll be one of our immediate next steps, is to form what that looks like. So please talk to your dean if you're interested in reviewing these proposals as they come through. We'll also be scheduling time within our schools to have more conversations about STEM-X. Now, I'm a little biased, but we already have great STEM programs here. We are already doing great things that sound a lot like STEM-X. I think about the work the engineering program did to develop engineering technology, and the work that David Guo is doing with Kate York and Chelsea Beauregard on biofabrication and running a special topics course next year. I think of Mark Cox also working with David Guo. I guess you got to work with David Guo on an interdisciplinary sport and engineering project. We're already doing these things. In the academic space, like I just mentioned, we're also doing it in the student experience side. You likely remember Degree in 5 that we had prior to a certain campus-wide project I can't mention. That That program, while it didn't have the opportunity to really grow, really helped our STEM students. Game design and engineering took full advantage of Degree in 5 and the benefits that came with it. And those students were able to get to graduation because of that. The Learning Fellows that we all know, that started as a STEM initiative, not necessarily here, the university that we modeled off of. I apologize, I can't remember the name of it. That was a STEM initiative. So these are things that we've already been working on that are in our back pockets, and it's our responsibility to not leave money on the table and not leave opportunity on the table. So what are you going to do with that opportunity? That's now in your hands. So, do you want to say something? They can reach out to me, Ben, and Diego, or just one of us, and we'll coordinate. That was all I had. So thank you again for attending. We will take a few questions, but keep in mind, if you ask a question, you are standing between everyone and the bar. Do you guys come up and join me? No, please, we'll take a question. I'm only joking. Kind of.
And I want to thank Dawn and Kara for their commitment to to STEM at SNU, especially Kara, who I've spoken to for years, and always kind of defined STEM as something other than engineering, which you know I've always appreciated. But what I would really like to hear is there an operational definition for what you mean by STEMX, right? Because it means something to me which might be very different than what it might mean to Kyle, because I've always been a long time person kind of upholding where's the S and where's the M, you know? Anyway, that was a joke. But anyway, honestly, because in science, in environmental science and in biology, we have like, you know, more females than we do males. In math, we have more females than we do males. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, we don't have the same issues, let's say, as engineering might have. So I would like us to continue to think about STEM as something that's much bigger than physical science, than engineering. And then, you know, it's not just pulling life sciences in, it is STEM. I mean, life sciences, you know, we are STEM. So I was wondering if anyone had an operational definition to share with us so that we all kind of can work under the same umbrella, so to speak.
So I'm going to defer to Diego, who I think may have a definition on the very tip of his tongue, but I would just say it also signifies something. And part of why I insisted in these conversations in the beginning that we talk about cross-disciplinary STEM, which is to some degree where the X came from, was that it's important to me that we remember that programs like the humanities, the more traditional non-STEM liberal arts, have a place in this initiative. And as we're thinking about what a STEM initiative, a STEM investment might be, to remember to include those programs as well. So again, I'm sensitive to not wanting to give too many examples lest I prescribe what this could be. But when I first arrived, I had a great conversation with one of our drawing professors, Steve, about the possibility of an anatomical drawing class being really useful for the health sciences, being useful for game design. It's a space in which a very traditional humanities-based arts course has a role in a STEMX initiative, would allow us to continue doing what we're already doing really well, but repackaged in a slightly different way. I mean, it's more powerful because of that combination. So for me, that cross-disciplinary piece was important. The more we thought about it, Diego worked his magic and I think did come up with actually an operational definition of what STEMX is. So I'll yield the floor here, Diego.
I'm not sure that I remember it. The way I think about it, it's an approach to STEM education. So you mentioned the life sciences. The way I think about this is it's an approach that is an inclusive approach. If we think about is healthcare within STEM X, I would say absolutely. I don't have any doubt about that. In my mind, healthcare and the life sciences in general are STEM, and definitely, most definitely STEM X. So again, I want to think about this as inclusive as possible and as an approach to education rather than a particular program or a particular major. Before we mention experiences without experiential learning, for example, within these initiatives, again, it's not just a program, it is about experiential learning, it is about student success. So an approach that will lead to better career outcomes, to greater retention, and to greater enrollment, but again, as inclusive as possible. Did that answer the question?
I think it would be really beneficial if someone can write something up. Like if you're going to do RFPs, then like for me as a PI, I would want to have a real like solid definition of what it is. I know it's about inclusivity. I know, you know, all these different things, but to me, STEM still is an acronym. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just like sustainability. It's very hard to define, but I think maybe as a group, we kind of need, for ourselves at least, to define what it is.
I'll do a follow-up too. If there's one way to think about it, at least the way I think about it, is the practice of innovation. So it's an approach that concentrated along the practice of innovation. So STEM tends to be focused on innovation itself. What we are thinking is, okay, so what about the practice of engineering? What about the practice of innovation in general, right? So you have the innovation itself. What about the business side? What about the ethics of this innovation? And so again, if there was one way that I think about it would be, let's think about STEM X as the practice of innovation.
Diego looks at me with fear. I can't help myself. I think your question's an excellent one, Michelle. I'm being heckled by my boss. Your question actually made me think of my college roommate. So as we graduated from college, like almost 40 years ago, yes, he's married. So as we graduated almost 40 years ago, he has been in nothing but sales the whole time. Okay, sales in biotech startups. He's done incredibly well for himself. He was a biology major, took business courses, applied the science to business. He's business all the way, but he understands the science just enough so that he can sit down with Nobel laureates running labs at Harvard and sell whatever piece of equipment he's selling that I don't understand. And it's the word is application. So there's in the acronym of STEM, there's direct application. There's the E, the engineer, I'm an engineer. There's the S, I'm a scientist, I'm in a lab, I'm doing science, so forth. Then outside of it, I'm something else. Indirect app, do I understand enough of it to apply? Does that help? Some sort of?
And I think, Michelle, you're getting at the tension that I talked about. The more that we define it, to some degree, the more limits we put on what it could be. I think what we're asking for you to do is tell us what it could be. But the first line of the RFP is about investments in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So within those guidelines and thinking inclusively, thinking about innovation, we're hoping you'll tell us. And I would push back on an urge for us to define it any more than we have, lest we potentially throw out really good ideas before they have the chance to even come across our desks. Okay.
Question, how is this different than what is already going on? Because I know that in my department and other departments, there already is interdisciplinary work, team teaching and research. What I'm hearing, my sense is the leadership wants something new and something that's going to attract the public and our market of students. And to do that, I think there needs to be a significant investment, resource investment in computing, in software, in materials to build things, make things. As I see on the cheat sheet, it looks like we've already been there and we've done that. But what I'm hearing from the leadership here is you want something new and something that's going to be, attractive internally and externally.
So
I know this is like a new thing here, but I also am looking at it as like an old thing that needs to be transformed by more serious financial investment.
Yes. Yeah, so I think Diego and Kyle both spoke to this. We are already doing really good work in this space. What we're trying to figure out is how to best spend new resources to invest in this area. So that could be taking what we're already doing and boosting it, enhancing it, and there are some examples on the sheet that reflect that, but it could be new things too. It's not a zero-sum game, though. We're doing something new. That doesn't mean that we're stopping something we're already doing. What we're looking for is help figuring out how to make those investments. What are the right places? And these proposals are going to be more likely to be funded if they're building on leveraging things we already do well.
Thanks, Jen. I'm going to stand. I liked your style with standing. League of Extraordinary Deans, thank you. This seems campus-sided, right? And that's the point. But I keep hearing like one catalog in my head. So just curious of your thoughts on that, like how this would integrate. Would these be ideas that would potentially be picked up by GEC, or would they be completely independent? Just wanted to pick your brain on that.
I would say it's an opportunity that's on the table for sure. I mean, there's a reason that we went through the One Catalog initiative, and there are some great ideas that we create here that GC appeals to. So I don't know that that would be off the table, but I will go out on a limb and say this is a campus-based initiative, so that way we can market ourselves and make investments here to continue the great work that we're doing.
I agree. It doesn't have to, but ideally it would, right? So ideally we could be doing something that GC can also be using. And it goes both ways. There are things from GC that we should also embrace. And perhaps there are opportunities to create, I don't know if it is a program, a new experience, so that we use some of the resources in GC within this proposal. So I think it goes both ways, but to answer your question, I would say it doesn't have to. Yes.
Hey folks, so I'm listening to everyone present. I heard career mentioned a few times, career outcomes, jobs, placement, all those good things. And having worked in career for a long, long time, excited that we're here at the table. And I guess all I would ask is when you think about STEM X and kind of this cross-disciplinary aspect of it, and faculty-driven, the students need the knowledge and skills, but ultimately our office in the Career Center, we help them kind of explore their options and launch. So I know folks have been at other schools, have career experience. Don came from career. So do you have any, I guess, ideas or thoughts about how career can be part of this initiative, like kind of writ large, like just a big overview?
So I can start by focusing on you, Jay, and the work that you've already done for us in CETA in helping us bring that engineering technology degree across the next phase of its development. So Jay was an incredible partner in being in the meetings with us. He arranged opportunities for us to meet with employers to get feedback on the initiatives that we were working on, and that was valuable. So that kind of partnership, I think, needs to be replicated outside of CETA with these initiatives.
I would also say my hope is that you will be part of the teams of the proposals that faculty are also submitting. That would be the idea, because to me, in my mind, it would make proposals stronger if it involves the Career Center, if it involves marketing, if it involves admissions.
We're going to take one more question if there is one.
Mingling is more too. So if you get a beverage and a brilliant question comes into your head, just ask.
No, the mics are turning off. Yeah, we'll be here to answer any questions that you have, but thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.